allow me to introduce Cheryl Brewster. I met Cheryl about a month ago, and in another networking environment. This goes to show how this all works out. And what she does, she's a business intuitive intention coach and joy strategist. So that sounds really good. She's heart-centered. She works to guide heart-centered people, business people, and thought leaders to go deeper in their own subconscious to bring forward solutions and strategies that were previously inaccessible. She's got quite the background. She does mentorship, etc. She's been into the South America region. She's worked in diverse locations, and she has a great knack, a great smile. And I'm going to keep it short because we're running out of time. I'm sorry, Cheryl. Over to you.
Well, thanks, Bernie and Margaret Ann, for such a warm welcome. And truly, you do represent here connect. I love it. And I was chatting briefly with Margaret Ann prior, and we were talking about real conversations and real relationships. And I can tell that that's what this group is all about. And it's certainly what I'm about. So we're going to have fun today exploring active imagination and how it can support you in growing your business. So I'm just going to share my screen. And I want today to be very interactive. So I'll give you a little bit of knowledge in the beginning, and then we're going to go straight into experiential, because I do believe that's the way that we learn best. So, grow your business with active imagination. Did you know that unexpressed creativity not only damages your business, but also damages your psyche? As a professional intuitive, mindset coach, and joy strategist, I support heart-based entrepreneurs in transition to claim and retain their creative edge to grow revenue. Keeping the awe and wonder in your business is absolutely critical. It's the power of your why. When we have fun, we not only get more done, we stay resilient, because peace is power. But how do we stay empowered in the middle of massive change and transition? Take COVID, for example. Many, many people have had the rug literally pulled out from under them. It can be very difficult and almost impossible to stay inspired in the face of challenging circumstances. And yet, we can. And when we make the choice with deliberate intent, we take all of that uncertainty or pain and we turn it into productive purpose. So, our most creative, innovative, productive solutions live in the subconscious. The challenge is getting out of the box of the known, of the linear mind, and into the infinite possibilities awaiting discovery in your very own subconscious. So today's an introduction to grab a piece of paper right now and let's harness your creativity, because we're going to have fun so that when you leave the call today, you actually will get more done. So let's start with what the learning objectives are. First of all, we'll cover what active imagination is and why it's so important in your business. Number two, how to use it to effectively access your intuition prior to sales calls. Now, this is such a key piece that we quite often miss because we're usually in a hurry to get things done. And my challenge to you today is I want you to leave today's call focused on your experience of enjoying what it is that you do. Because when we put the priority there, we are very much accessing our creative subconscious far faster and easier than attempting to strive or get something done. So accessing intuition prior to your sales calls will save you time and gain quality clients. And when we slow down, we actually do get more done. But again, our challenge can be fighting the linear mind that just wants to get on things. So we'll play with this today. The third objective is how the power of intention creates legacy. It prevents regret, burnout, and stress. And so nothing happens without us making a decision first. So as we approach today's session, what I'm going to ask you to do is to remember that active imagination is the bridge between the conscious and the subconscious. And the reason it's so important is because your conscious mind has access to 10% of the knowledge that is available to you at any point in time. 90% of wisdom, knowledge, and solutions lie in the unconscious. And so what happens is when we are in a place of fight, flight, or freeze, we will forget that we've got 90% of untapped solutions in front of us. And so today we're going to have a chance to play so that you can practice really slowing down and really accessing this very, very important resource. 90% of what you can use to solve your business challenges is basically lying in the unknown, waiting your discovery. And I like to share the story of Albert Einstein, who discovered the theory of relativity. Basically had the beginning of it at 16 years old when he went into his imagination and he wondered, what would it be like to ride a light beam? And it's in those periods of just questioning and imagining that we can come up with all kinds of ideas and solutions that we never would have otherwise. The challenge for us is that quite often when these things percolate and bubble up, we can take them for granted. And we can just say, oh, that was interesting, and yet not do anything about them. So you'll notice that by working with intention and being very clear on what it is that you do want, and starting out your day envisioning yourself receiving that, not worrying about the how, just knowing what it is you want and why, will change the way that your subconscious communicates with you. So let's take a look then at one of the very, very important keys with working with your subconscious. Unwavering optimism. Now, the neuroscience is proving, and I'm sure you're all aware because as entrepreneurs, you do think outside the box already. But the research is absolutely unequivocal that when we use unwavering optimism, we are able to access the creative subconscious far faster, far more effectively. So we really want to create awareness around how even the slightest worry, irritation, self-doubt can disrupt the motivation centers in the brain. So when we focus on unwavering optimism, we are using the energy that keeps us in our why, and it keeps us in the enthusiasm and in the excitement of what it is that we're creating. This is grit. This is where we are really using this aspect of optimism to keep us in the times when it's hard and when it's challenging. Why is it so important to stay in unwavering optimism? If any of you know who Sean Anker is, who wrote the book, The Happiness Advantage, he took over 250 studies on happiness. And the research proves that when we make the choice to be happy before results, when we make the choice to be optimistic that things will work out, that again, we are harnessing the unconscious creativity of the brain that is only available with focus and intention. The stats have proven that when we embrace happiness as a strategy rather than an outcome, that we make 37% more sales. Productivity increases by 31%. Creativity, a whopping 300%. So again, if we are not going into using unwavering optimism as a strategy, we will not access this 90% of creative solutions that are available. So my question for you is, as we go into playing with some tools today, where's your focus? And I think it was Lisa, I'm sorry, I'm not remembering names here, who was talking about the inner self-talk. And again, we all know this, and we all have opportunity to improve it. So what I'd like to do with you today is to have you have an experience of this. Intellectually, we know this, but we want to go deeper into really accessing the creative function inside you in a deeper way. So, what is the best way to access active imagination to grow your business? And this is where I'm going to ask you to take an opportunity to literally use something called beginner's mind, where you forget everything you know. And we want to go into the unknown. We want to go into what you don't know. So, what if? What if, from what I'm talking about today and some of the exercises we're going to do, you could walk away with a really powerful solution to some of the aspects of your business? What if? What would that be like? And what would it be like to have it happen very quickly? So, my objective here is to invite you to use the power of intention during this presentation. So I'd like you to take a moment and put some thought into if you could come away with one thing, one tool today that would really, really help you. Identify an area where yes, you'd like some creative solutions, and take a moment to just jot that down on a piece of paper. And what I'm going to ask you to do now that you've jotted it down is, from a scale of 1 to 10, how are you feeling about this particular question or challenge? On a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being, you know what, I feel really confident, closer to 1 going, yeah, I'm a bit uncertain, not too sure, and just rate yourself from 1 to 10. And what we'll do at the end of this little exercise is we'll rate yourself again and just see how much better you're feeling about what you're doing, what you're creating, what you're exploring. So, one of the best ways to access the subconscious and the creativity where all of our solutions and answers lie is to begin with the intention of receiving. Again, our linear brain is very focused on two things. Number one, staying safe, and number two, taking action. When we work with the subconscious, what we're doing is we're setting aside the linear brain to access something deeper, which means that the linear brain has to take a break. So, in other words, working with creative imagination is the opportunity to receive. So, I'm going to ask you at the beginning of this exercise to imagine yourself with a happy memory or enthusiasm about a goal. And the reason we go here is because this is the juice. When we go into fight, flight, freeze, we forget the juice. And so we're going to take a mindful minute here, what I call a mindful minute, and we're going to breathe 3 deep breaths, and we're going to harness the power of intention to receive a solution that you haven't thought of yet. We're going to make room for it. We're going to make space for it. And the best way that we do that is to condition the mind to go back to optimism, to go back to, yeah, that's great. It's exciting. It's like bringing your future self into the present. Think of yourself a year ago and how different you are today. Well, the same is true for a year from now. What if you could bring your future self into this present moment? So the way that we do that is, again, In order to access your creative aspects here, I'm going to invite you to either choose a very happy memory or something you're super excited about. And I'm going to time this for 1 minute. And all you're going to do is just enjoy how exciting or how amazing that memory was. So we're setting the stage and we're starting with the end in mind. So taking a deep breath from your belly up through the solar plexus, out through the lungs, and 3 deep breaths to anchor yourself. Yeah. This is what I've experienced before, and this is what I'm bringing in. And using your imagination to remember what enthusiasm feels like, what accomplishment feels like. And as you continue to breathe, to just relax. We take this mindful minute, and it's like an oil change for the mind, where for 1 minute, your only focus is on receiving your well-being. So when we put the focus on receiving our well-being, we relax the body, we relax the mind, we nurture a peak state. So now I'm going to ask you to take this piece of paper, and I know we're going through this quickly, but when we bypass the linear mind and we go into pure imagination, several things happen. So keeping this feeling or this idea that's very exciting and very enthusiastic in front of you, I'm going to ask you to have it take form. So if this feeling could land in your body, where would it land? And write that down. So we're not overthinking this, just what's the first thing that comes to mind for you? If this excitement or this enthusiasm or this happy memory could land in your body, where would it land? And even if you don't get something super clear, just pick a place in your body where you feel this would land. And then if this feeling and this excitement and this enthusiasm had a sound, what would it sound like? And write that down. And again, you're just taking the first thing that comes to mind. We're not overthinking this. We're being very present with what just pops up. And if this sense of receiving and this better feeling thought and this anticipation of possibility could take the form of an image, what would the image be? and just jot down that image. And one last question. If the excitement and the anticipation about what you're going to create could take the form of an animal, what animal would that be? And I'm going to invite you to go into imagination right now. And if you got an animal, have it come stand before you. If you didn't get an animal, then just pick one. Pick an animal that would come to mind right now. And have this animal look directly into your eyes. And imagine having a conversation with it. And notice this conversation. And there is a sense here of a message that this animal is transmitting to you. What's it letting you know? And this animal has an energy associated with it. And of all the animals that could come into your awareness or into your imagination, into your mind right now, this particular animal is the one that showed up. And this particular animal is revealing to you something very important for you to know. You may get the answer in this moment, or you may get the answer later in the day or within the next couple of days, but guaranteed you will get an answer. And it will be an answer from your subconscious. It will be something that you wouldn't normally think about, and it will be a solution that comes from the deeper creativity of who you are. So take an opportunity to, again, be in beginner's mind. It's like, hey, I'm going to access this 90% of the unknown. And I want you to be aware of one very important thing. Within the next hour, the next day, the next few days, synchronicities will occur for you that will highlight the experience you've just had with these visualizations. So it's important for you to pay attention to what you were just thinking about prior to that synchronicity coming in. You may see this animal image on a billboard, or you may be reminded of the sound or the feeling, that anticipation and excitement about your goal. When you set the intention, the subconscious does everything it can to support you in your desire. So I know I walked you through this exercise very, very quickly. And when you have more time on your own, it's very, very powerful to, first of all, set the intention for what you do want to receive. Number one, go into active imagination, play. And then number three, follow through on what you get. And this is one step that is very easy to miss. When a synchronicity or a meaningful coincidence happens into your life, it's easy to say, that was cool, when it has such profound and important information for you. So We activate imagination by asking questions, and we activate it by paying attention to what we most love and what we most want, and then being open to the possibilities. It's like being a kid again and asking yourself, what if? What if I, like Einstein, could ride a beam of light and the answers that I'm looking for will come to me either through an answer in a visualization or later in the day? What if? So this brings us to a point where using our intuition prior to making sales calls is very, very important. And I want to share a story with you. I teach mastermind for intuitive business professionals who are really keen to access their intuition. And I was almost full with my program, and I had a couple of spots left. And so I sat very quietly and I said, okay, who needs to be a part of my mastermind? I had an image of a woman flash across my mental screen. So I phoned her. And the first thing she said when she picked up the phone was, do you have a message for me? And I said, well, actually, I do. I've got this mastermind program that I think would be a great fit for you. And she said, Cheryl, you won't believe this. I had a dream last night that someone was going to phone me today with a message. And here you are. So I tell this story because like the name of your group, connected, we're all connected. And so when you take the time and you set intention, what's the best fit for me and my client? And you use imagination and you practice with those 5 senses to practice receiving with gratitude in advance. Amazing things percolate. And the thing is that your creativity is your faithful servant, but we must take time out for it. And the best way to land that creativity is to make it feel very welcome. And that's why it's so important to use optimism and enthusiasm. We set the stage and we relax so that we can go into this place of infinite possibility. So a great question to ask yourself, and working through this process of getting the mind quiet and then going into the enthusiasm of what you want to create, who's in most need of my services? And just like we did the practice with an animal coming to mind, you will have the opportunity to play with and imagine how much time you'll save with who are the most important people for me to make contact with today. So I know I threw you into the deep end of the pool, and I'm going to ask you, now that we've had a chance to kind of play with creative, active imagination and go into some of these areas that we may not have thought of. I love what Napoleon Hill said. If you do not see great riches in your imagination, you will never see them in your bank balance. And it's that preset to doing business. It's being very clear on what our intent is. It's inviting the creativity, that 90% of unknown solutions to bubble up. And it's really harnessing the power of enthusiasm, which creates this place for the creativity to land. So we do go into fight, flight, or freeze when we are coming from the conscious brain. We've got worries, we've got things that we've got time management, we've got all these things. So the secret, and again, the neuroscience that proves it, to choose one better feeling thought at a time. This is the foundation for welcoming that creative solutions into our experience. I'll just summarize with a quote from Churchill. Success consists of going from failure to failure without loss of enthusiasm. And this is so important to remember because it's the conscious mind with all of its programming, with all of its conditioning, that will make comparisons and focus on the negative, because we do have a negative brain bias in the conscious mind. It's in the subconscious mind that thinks outside the box, that knows there are solutions we haven't thought of yet. The reason I'm going to invite you to really make it a priority to set intentions to use optimism as your go-to is this. In World War II, when the Brits wanted to cancel all the art programs in the schools, Churchill's response was, then what are we fighting for? Because it's the art of life, it's the creativity of life that brings the meaning, and it's the why of your business. And so often as entrepreneurs, we can get caught up in too many things to do and not enough time to do them. And so I invite you to take from today and really allow yourself that chance to receive, to go into the solutions that are far easier and more effective than anything the conscious mind could have come up with. The marriage between the two is where it's at. So I'm going to just summarize here. Active imagination, why it's so important in business is because it takes us out of the known and into the 90% of the unknown solutions we've not discovered yet. Number two, accessing intuition prior to sales calls will save you time and absolutely guarantee those quality clients. Number three, the power of intention creates legacy, prevents regret, burnout, and stress. And here's why. 90% of the solutions that you have not accessed yet have your well-being in mind. And too often as entrepreneurs, we can forget that, especially when we're faced with challenge. So constantly going back to optimism as that absolute foundation that welcomes this aspect of self-care, well-being as we build our businesses. So I want to round off with my takeaway for you today. My giveaway is to explore these concepts or tools further with a complimentary intuitive consult with me, where we get to play and really go deep into the power of your subconscious and how can it serve you more effectively.